Hi guys, and welcome back to the PS Love Yourself podcast. I'm Maya.
And I am Maya.
Grab yourself a coffee or cocktail, or today, in our case, a Diet Coke.
What? We switched
and have
it up.
a seat, because it's about to get real.
And it's about to get hot. Or shall we say cold, because it's November. When did the time fly? It's no more fall, and now it's winter. Time flew, and now...
It's not winter, she's dramatic.
But I'm sad.
The time
I'm happy,
change,
though.
I will say, is kicking my ass.
Yes. Oh my god,
and
it's
I'm
getting so dark outside.
exhausted.
And I always wake up to... I used to wake up to the darkness, and I wake up to the sun, and I'm like, am I late to work? And I don't like that feeling.
I just hate when it gets dark at literally 4 p.m. and then I'm exhausted, and my work days have been feeling like they're 3 years long. Literally 3 years long.
Honestly, they've been feeling longer.
I'm like, what is going on?
Because it's getting darker out, we're going to talk about the darkness of our souls.
We're going to talk about the darkness we have within us, which is our depression.
Yes.
So today's topic, we want to get into depression, and we have talked about like getting into our depression a few times in our podcast, but like we wanted to ease into it because it's such a heavy topic. And I will say, like, even we might not even cover everything that we want to on this episode because it's a lot. Depression is not
hefty.
easy. And so this is our little trigger warning. We are going to give one. We are talking about depression and the things that we're dealing with. And we just want to make that known because if you cannot watch it for some reason...
still give us a like, but just hop off the video then.
We're not going to go in super dark in detail.
Yeah, no.
I think that we just want to like touch on it.
And like our experience and how we kind of dealt with it and stuff like that. Obviously, another warning, this is not a cure. We're not trying to cure you. We're not trying to tell you what to do.
Yeah,
we're just going to tell you our experiences.
Cure your depression because mine's not even cured. So let's get into it.
All right. So I think we should just kind of define what our meaning of depression is because for everyone it is different.
Yeah.
So how I view as depression is an excessive amount of time where you're not yourself, where you're feeling down, where you have zero motivation in life and anything in general, and you're just constantly in a bad mood, sad mood, and etc. Things like that. So that's kind of how I view depression. Yeah. Obviously, people could view it differently. That's totally fine. I know there's like a scientific definition, but that's how I see it in the world. What do you think it is for you?
Kind of like the same thing. Obviously, I know like the definition of depression that like anybody can Google. But I think like it's the same. Like you just kind of feel, for me, I guess my depression, I just feel like I carry such a heavy sadness in my chest and I like really feel it in my chest, you know, especially when I'm going through like a low, like and my chest just feels heavy, and that's what I like kind of explain to everybody. It just everything feels hard and everything feels heavy.
And like it feels like you hit rock bottom, like there's no light to it. You think this is gonna be forever.
Yeah.
Which in some cases it could be for some people. But again, this is just gonna be our experience. Honestly, for when it comes to depression and like maybe anxiety, I don't get it as often as I used to. But when I do get it, it hits hard. And that's the one thing I try to maintain as well, because I know when it's coming. And that's the worst part, when you know it's coming and you're like, oh my god, like I need to avoid this, or oh my god, I need to do something to help it. But honestly, in some situations, you're like, do I have to go through this? Like, I think I need to feel it out sometimes. And I know that just happened to me recently where I needed to feel it out and I let it come. And it kind of killed my mood and it killed other people's moods and they didn't want to be around me. But I felt it out and I'm feeling already a little bit better from it. Now, I wouldn't necessarily call that part depression, but it's getting to the episode of depression, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
When do you usually, like, get triggered, or, like, when do you usually see these, like, moments coming for you?
So, that's a good one. So, I have struggled with depression, anxiety for a lot of my life, and it really hit me like going into high school. Like I always grew up with anxiety, like just from my childhood, and just like I just always grew up a little bit more nervous. Like that has just always been me since I was a younger kid. So my depression really hit me in high school, and in that time I was just like, and honestly, I did have things like going on in my home life, which kind of like didn't help, but it wasn't even just like it was
Just
only
that,
because of
yeah.
my home life of why I was depressed. Like,
Mhm.
I just felt like when you're a teenager too, everything feels bigger, everything feels harder, everything just feels, like I said, heavy. And I was going through a lot. Like, at home with my parents, I was, going through with them, and they had a rough time like with themselves, but as a kid it's like you don't like look at it like, oh, they're also going through something. No, you just like look at it like, oh, my parents are
Yeah,
fighting
because
all
we
the
also don't
time. We
understand
just
because we're
don't
so young.
understand. Yeah. And so like that was really heavy for me. And then two, like, freshman year, I kind of was like thinking or like figuring out that I had feelings for girls, and that was like very hard because I just didn't know. I just didn't
Yeah.
know what it was, and I
Yeah.
just didn't know if that was like a real thing or if like it was,
Or you're not
a
supposed to feel
phase
that
I was going
way.
through. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to feel that way. So I hid that for a long time. Well, at least I tried to. But, my friends and family and my parents aren't stupid. But,
They put two and two together.
yeah, but to a certain extent, I didn't know how to feel about it because for a long time, I felt like that was so wrong. So, like, that really hit me hard, and that's really why, my depression in high school was so bad, is because I didn't want to accept from myself that I liked girls, and I felt like I couldn't really come out in that way. Like, I was like, I don't know who I can tell what I can do,
It
and
was
so I
also
hid it.
it was like a different
It
time
was,
too.
yeah, and it was
Like it's
just
not the same as
weird.
it now.
And I had a lot of gay friends when I was in high school, and so I was like, am I feeling this way because my friends feel this way?
Yeah.
And so it was like confusing, and then I never wanted to tell my parents. So when I was like figuring that out, I was hiding a lot of stuff from them. And then, they always felt like, you're lying to me, like all of this stuff. And it was just like, for a long time, I was lying to myself.
Yeah.
So it was just really hard. And it wasn't like anybody was like accepting of it.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in a hurtful way to like them or even to myself, like, because I wasn't accepting of it for a long time too. I was like, maybe this is just like a fling, or maybe this is just like
Mhm.
a whatever it was. So I don't know. So I never really like fully came out and tried to accept it when I was in high school, so I struggled with that a long time. And then I had, a lot of people in my ear saying it is just a phase, or this is not what's meant to be for you, or this is
Mhm.
not how it's supposed to happen, like, so like my feelings were just very confusing for a long time.
Yeah.
And so then you feel like shit about yourself. And
Mhm.
I felt like I can't control
How you feel?
how I feel, and I
Yeah.
can't control these thoughts that are coming to me and how I feel about this person, and not having the chance to really sit down and talk about it with my family, or like my sister or my mom or my dad, like, and my brother. Like, it was easier for me to talk about it with my brother. Which is weird enough, but it was. It was very hard. And so I got really down on myself, and I felt like shitty about myself. And then I started spiraling, and I was like, I don't want to be this way, and I don't
Mhm.
want to live anymore. And unfortunately, that's where your brain goes to. And it's hard because that topic of like, or that thought of saying like you don't want to live anymore is very strong, and it's very heavy. And I used to have like people say to me, your life is not that bad. Like, I don't understand why you're depressed. I don't understand why you're talking like this or like saying this stuff. But to me, it felt that bad. To
Yeah.
me, it felt like people were just like not accepting or not on my side. And I felt like I had nobody on my side during these times. And granted, yeah, I wasn't being honest with myself, and I wasn't really being fully honest with my mom or my parents or my whoever asked me about it. And I get that, but at the same time, I was young and I didn't know. And
Yeah.
I was trying to take in everybody's thoughts about it, and then it made me feel like shit,
Yeah. Was
so
that the lowest point of your life, do you think?
yeah, I was like, it was hard because, like I said, my parents were also going through it, right? And then my parents did get a divorce, so my mom didn't live with us for a long time, and that part of my life too, I like blocked out. Like, I don't remember my
Mhm.
mom moving out. I don't remember like
Really?
a lot of stuff like happening. Like, my brain just like blocked it out because I was also just going through this stuff for myself,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to figure out who I am. And at that age, 16, 17, 18, you don't know who you are.
No.
You don't know like what it is that you like or what you don't like or who you like. And trying to figure out, liking the same sex, and people don't really agree with that all the time. Like, now you're trying to figure out who you are, but now you're also having these thoughts of like, should I like a girl and nobody is accepting of that,
Yeah, because
And at least to me, I thought no one was accepting. Now, at the time, maybe like I think they just wanted me to be honest and be like, hey, this is what it is. But I don't think anybody put their self in my shoes and how it made me feel. And so it wasn't as easy as being like, hey, I like this girl, like that's it.
mm-hmm.
Like that wasn't easy because that's not what they wanted. And
Yeah,
so for a long time, I'm like, it's probably not what I want. But like, you shouldn't live your life like that, because it made me spiral. It made me not want to live anymore because I'm like, I can't
can't
do the right
control it. No
thing
one's
and
understanding me.
nobody's
Like no one's here
understanding
for
me.
me.
Yeah, and I felt like I said, I had no one in my corner,
Yeah.
because it's this weird thing. Like, what are you going to do, And I'm 16, 17, like I said, even 18 was hard. Now I'm 25 and I have it more figured out. And I still don't like, I don't know, like I still don't sit there and talk
Mm-hmm.
about it with my family if I were to date a girl again or if I liked a girl
Yeah.
again. Like, I still don't really talk about it. Not that I let it affect me. I don't really care what anybody says anymore. Like,
Yeah.
if I want to be with a girl, I'm just going to be with one. Like,
Yeah.
and obviously it didn't help that, like, I did see guys and date guys. So my parents were confused and they're like, no, you're confused because
You're like, hold
you're
up.
still
What's the
talking
situation?
to a guy, or like now you
Yeah.
brought a boy home or you're going on a date with the boy. And like at that time, I'm like, well, because I like both. Like,
Yeah.
I'm
But
like,
it's
I
hard
have
to
interest in
understand
both.
too.
But it's hard to understand that you like
Mm-hmm.
both.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
And that's okay too. Obviously, back then, like way before COVID, it was a little bit different too. Yeah. Nowadays, not saying it's easier, but nowadays more people accept it and more people understand, but it's still hard no matter what. What did you do to like get at that spiral? Because I know you went through it for a while.
Yeah,
What
I
did
did.
what
I
did you
went through it
do?
for a long time. This is when I decided to like really reach out and get help and start going to therapy. I started therapy, I think, when I was 18, and this is when I came back from Arizona. Like, we moved with my dad to Arizona, and he obviously had a big drinking problem. He's sober now, what, 5, 6 years sober,
Yay,
right?
Lance.
Yeah, so he's doing good. But he had a big drinking problem. So I moved out and I came back to Illinois and I was like, you know what? I really need to see a therapist because I'm not talking to my dad right now because he's not sober. He's still putting me through, shitty shit and like I just couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
And I came back and again, I felt like I had nobody. I'm like, I don't like, what am I supposed to
Because your
do?
brother was also in Arizona at
Yeah,
the time,
my
right?
brother was in Arizona, yeah.
Yeah.
And like I had my mom, right? I had my sister and I had my best friends, and but it's different because when you're feeling all these feelings and you're going through a
Mm-hmm.
hardship and like you're not talking to one parent cuz what he's done, and like you are still confused from yourself and who you are, like you feel like you have nobody. And
Yeah.
I for a long time would tell Ashley, like I would tell her, I'm like, I can sit in a room full of people that love me, and I've never felt more alone than I do. Like, and I would surround my people who I knew that loved me, but
Mm-hmm.
I felt so alone every time. And
Was it, sorry to cut you off, but was it
no,
because of them or is it because of you?
it was
To make it
definitely
clear.
I think because of me, because I was so shut off from everyone and I wanted to be shut off from
Okay.
everyone. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't want to open up about how I felt or my problems. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't want people to know that I was feeling that way. And I didn't feel supported every time I talked about it anyway. I felt like they were like, what do you have to be sad about? I don't necessarily have to be going through such a hardship to just be depressed, because I think I've carried that emotion with me for a long time. So it kind of became, and this is what my therapist said too, it became, just an emotion that I was used to. So I couldn't give it up. I wasn't used to
Yeah.
being happy, outgoing, this like girl that everybody wanted to be around. I was used to being sad and I was used to being alone and didn't want to talk to people, and I
Mm-hmm.
didn't want the help. And for a long time, I didn't want the help. And then I was like, you know what, I want to go to therapy because, and it kind of just came on me one day. Like, I really can't
Okay.
tell you like what
What
pushed me to do
exactly?
therapy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, one day I was just like, I just need the help. And I was sick of feeling like I didn't want to be here anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
And so, like, therapy helped you?
Yeah,
How long,
so
like, how many sessions did it take you, or, like, what?
well, I've went through a lot of therapists too. I think people are scared of therapy because you have one bad session or you don't connect with your first therapist right away and then you give it up. And I always tell people, you probably aren't going to find your perfect match of your therapist the first time
Yeah.
you try
Yeah.
therapy. You just probably won't. So I've went through many therapists. I've had females, I had males. Just like trying different things out because you do need to find a good match for your
Mhm.
therapist. You need to find someone you feel safe with and you feel comfortable with, and you need to find someone that you're like, yeah, like I really want to take what they're saying. Because
Mhm.
I've had therapists where I'm like, you have no idea what you're talking about, and I'd be like, you're not helping me. And
Yeah.
that makes you lose help
Mhm.
because you're like, I'm never going to find help because I feel like I'm never finding somebody who
Yeah.
understands me. And you need that. You need someone that understands you. So finally it took a long time, like it took years. Like I started therapy when I was 18, and my therapist I have now, I think I found her like 3 years ago, so it's like it
Okay.
took me a long
Oh,
time,
yeah.
and but she is a perfect match for me, and I like, she's really helped me and really has pushed me. So therapy does help, and I think it's just too getting an outsider's point of view who doesn't know anything about you, has
Mhm.
not seen your life, has, just like they know nothing,
Yeah, just, like,
right?
literally a
And they
random
just
person
know,
that you
yeah,
could trust.
yeah. And then you put all this information into them, and they really analyze it and kind of like push you to like try things to get out of that, And I've told my therapist everything that I've went through
Yeah.
from childhood to now to high school to whatever feelings that I felt to relationships to good ones that I've experienced to bad ones, like everything. And like, so yeah, I think therapy obviously has really helped me. Now I don't want to say my depression's cured because sometimes I do feel
Well, yeah.
sad and I do
Yeah.
feel alone still with a lot of stuff that
But
I
it
go through.
grew better
Yeah.
than it did
But it grew
before?
better.
Okay.
So I didn't know how to handle anything by myself. The only thing that I knew was to take myself out of a situation. And I still do it now. Sometimes when I go through something hard that like hurts me or hurts my feelings, I just want to be alone. I don't want to talk to anybody about it. I don't want to pick up the phone. I
Mhm.
don't want to text you. I don't, you know what I mean? I want to just be quiet.
Yeah.
And that's not a good habit and that's not a good thing. And I've learned that. And like my therapist is trying to teach me that because you want people to be around you. But
Yeah.
since I grew up feeling like I had no support for a long time, it's hard for me to want to be open about it, besides if it's with my therapist. And that's okay. Like, at least it's somebody, right? So that's my biggest thing. Like, find someone, if you can't afford therapy or you don't want to go or you don't want to try, like, find someone that you can really trust that you can get it all out because it does hurt more keeping it in. And I
That is
have
true.
learned that, you know. Um,
Yeah, my next question was going to be, what if you don't have a therapist, if you don't have money for it or insurance? But like you said,
Yeah, so like I
literally
said,
talk to
just find
someone
someone.
that you know you could,
Yeah,
or like you get that trust feeling, but it's
yeah,
a random person.
yeah. Or like somebody that just like they don't even have to understand, but like someone that just like listens and someone who makes you feel heard and seen. And I
Hmm.
think that's the biggest thing going through something like having depression or even anxiety or whatever it is. Like when you feel heard and seen, you obviously feel better
Yeah.
because you're like, okay, I'm not just being like
Or I'm not,
dramatic.
or I'm not being crazy.
being crazy.
Yeah.
Like I'm not just being like blowing this out of proportion because that's how a lot of people viewed some of the situations I've gone through. Like I've been so dramatic about it. Like Maya, it's not that bad. It's not this, it's not that. Well, you don't think the same way I do. We don't have the same brain. We don't have the same like, thoughts that are
Mindsets,
running through
yeah.
our heads. We don't have the same mindset. So how are you going to tell me what I feel is
Right or
right or
wrong.
wrong, you
No,
know?
because everyone's feelings are valid no matter what. If you are being
Yeah.
dramatic, or if you, like if you think you're being wrong but you're not wrong, whatever it is, everyone's feelings are valid,
Yeah.
and you just want to feel validated. You just
Yeah.
want to
And so
feel
that's what
comfort and that
yeah.
support.
So like I said, if you can't get to a therapist, you don't have one, or you don't want to try one, that's okay. Find somebody that can make you feel validated because at the end of the day, that's really kind of what everybody wants.
And I'm definitely going to offer that support to anyone out there as
Yeah.
well. We're always here
Yeah, we're
for you
always
guys.
here.
Whether if you want to make it anonymous or not, we're always here for you guys. We always let the doors open, and we just want to whatever we can do to help anyone out, honestly.
Yeah.
Whoever it is.
Yeah, so now I feel like my depression days, like going back from when I was a teenager or a kid, like to now, it's obviously has changed, right? Because I know how to kind of like cope. I still like to pull back and I still like that's something I'm working on because even if I'm upset about something, I'm not texting you back. Like
Nope.
I am not like they'll be like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah."
She was
But
gonna
like
run.
I don't want to yeah, like I
Mm.
just don't want to talk about it. And it's not healthy to do that. So that's something I'm still like working on, but it's just like has always
It's
been
baby steps.
yeah, it's a habit I need to break. But now I really have gotten into the mindset of trying to talk myself out of like my bad episodes.
Hmm.
Like there will be days where I'm just like sobbing or I wake up and I'm just like depressed. Like I don't want to talk to anybody and I don't want to be around anyone and my heart just feels heavy and like when I say that like my chest actually feels heavy. Like I just feel like a
You like
dark cloud is
like it's like
following on me.
claustrophobic
Yeah.
inside.
Like I just don't feel good and sometimes it is what it is. But I take that day kind of head on and then sometimes I have to call my therapist and be like, "Hey, I'm just feeling really bad today. I don't know what it is. I don't know what trigger." And
Hmm.
sometimes I don't even know what my triggers are. Like I don't know, it just happens and bad days are
Same.
going to happen, you
Hmm.
know? But like I said, I think talking about it really helps and that's why I do call my therapist because I do need to get it out because I
Yeah.
can't do it alone. And I've tried to do it alone so many times, but like doing it alone results in me having the thoughts that I don't want to
Yeah. Or you
be
just don't,
here.
like you say, you don't get that outside perspective. Like,
Yeah.
because obviously our thought process is always going to be the same. It's hard to change that. But when you hear
Yeah.
it from someone else,
Right.
it could help. I don't know. Me, I don't get into such like big depressive episodes, but there was this one time where it was so bad where I did not want to be here either.
Yeah.
For my situation, it was right before COVID happened. I was just going through it because that's the time I was in college. I hated school so much, but I was like kind of forced into it. And I was just hating that so much. And so I would go out like I would literally drink away how I felt and like block everything off.
Yeah.
And I got into a horrible car accident on my way to work one day, and that literally changed my life to the better and for the worst, honestly.
Yeah.
That car accident horrified me so much. Like I had to go to the hospital. I had a hematoma on my forehead. My forehead was huge. If you think it's big now, it was bigger than with that hematoma. I had to get an MRI. Like my car was totaled. That honestly brought me down so bad because obviously you're in a car accident, you're traumatized, so you
Yeah,
want
traumatized.
to process those emotions. But I didn't get a time to process because literally the next day I was forced to drive again. I was
Yeah.
forced to because I had to go again to college, which was like 15 minutes away, but still, I was forced to drive because I had exams that day. So I didn't process my emotions very well. And because I didn't process it well, that's when I got into a really bad depressive episode. And then literally, finals ended. Literally, it was January, beginning of February. Like, I still didn't have classes started yet. I went to Mexico. So that was literally like 2 weeks 2 weeks like after my car accident, I went to Mexico and drunk it all away. And the minute I landed back, COVID happened. So then I'm having like this whole pandemic was happening. I
Yeah.
again wasn't processing my emotions. So obviously when COVID happened, everything shut down, and I quit my job. I quit my job too, so that wasn't great. So during the time of COVID, I literally felt so alone. I literally had those thoughts like I don't want to be here. I did not talk to anyone. I shut myself out. I was so rude to my mom. It was just
Yeah.
so
Yeah, me too.
awful to the point, like I said, I didn't want to be here. I don't know what happened that made me like kind of get out of it, but I think like something just triggered it to be like in my brain, like, hey, like let's try to do something about it.
Yeah.
And then college started back up again in like the end of February, beginning of March. We did online school, and that took me out again. So that whole first like semester, like February 2020 to the end of the summer of 2020 was the worst time of my life because that was the most depressed I was, honestly. That's also when I met your brother. But I was just so down bad. Like I could not process anything. I didn't know what emotions was. I
Yeah.
didn't know what depression was at the time. I didn't have anxiety till after. After COVID ended, that's when I noticed my anxiety got so high. Like
Yeah, my
I used
anxiety is
to
so bad
I used
now.
to never have panic attacks, and now I get them more frequently, which still don't know why till this day. I kind of learned how to maintain it and how to stop it, which I'm proud of. But I still just get those triggering moments where, like, oh my god, when I feel myself, when I feel that heavy chested, like you said, or when I get those thoughts, or when I'm rude to people, that's how I know a depressive episode is coming. So I try anything to stop it.
You do get rude, like, not you personally, but like
but I do
me, like too, like when you're going through and you feel depressed,
pissing
like
you off.
everything makes you mad, everything makes you upset. And two, for the longest time, like when I would like go through a depressive like episode or whatever, and I just like literally was just feeling so sad, I hated when people would tell me it would be okay. Now I like would get okay. I just didn't want to hear it. Like they're like, oh, you'll get through it, you'll be fine, you'll be this, you'll be that. Like, okay, thank you, but like that's not what somebody wants to hear. And it's like, it's terrible because I hate being in that mindset, because I know that like better days are around the corner,
and it actually will be
and
okay.
It actually will be okay.
But no,
but yeah, nobody like just wants to hear that.
And then, oh my god, and then after that, the next summer, 2021, is when I got into my eating disorder. Yeah. So that was another like depressive episode for months. Like, oh my god, I was. You remember? Yeah. My 21st birthday. Oh my god.
Yeah. You were tiny.
That was horrible. And I look back at pictures now, and I'm happy with where I'm at right now. Sometimes, obviously, my fupa don't like, but I'm coming to realization that that's okay and that's normal. Yeah. But I look back at those pictures and I'm like, oh my god, like how did I let it get so bad? And thing is, like, it's nobody's fault, it's only my fault, but like no one helped me to, no one noticed really, and like that kind of hurt. But at the same time, like, also my friends were kind of going through it too, so I was trying to help them out too. So I don't know, it was just a whole thing.
I think too, with like saying nobody notices, like I think, let's talk about this eating disorder for example. Like, being skinny is everybody's like want, you know, and especially like this generation, it's just like for some reason, like if we're not skinny, we don't feel worthy. And so when you're like in your eating disorder and you're losing all this weight and you're getting tiny, I think like even people made comments like on your posts and stuff saying you look so good, you look so good. So it's like to you, you're like nobody notices because, you know, you have this eating disorder and you have this like thing that's happening to you and you're losing all this weight, but like you're struggling. Like when I was, you know, how old was I? 18, 19, maybe 19. Yeah, I was 19. I was losing a bunch of weight. Like I was never really like that big, but like there is pictures of me that I was like, you know, a little bit on the heavier side, but I was going through it so bad with like the people you know, the guy I was seeing at the time, and then like just still being sad about my life and what was happening and what was going on at the time and like whatever. And so I started losing all this weight, and like I was smoking a lot too, and I was not too. Yeah, people don't know. I was not eating, and I was throwing up all the time, and I was just like not in a good headspace. So like my body wasn't healthy, and I'm dropping all this weight, and people are complimenting me that I'm dropping this weight and that I got skinny. And then so the same thing, I'm like, I didn't even try to get skinny. I was just really going through it, you know? And I sat there and I took the compliments, and like I was just like, yeah, I do actually look good, but I wasn't healthy and I didn't feel good, and I was fainting all the time, and I'm passing out, and I'm like, you know, shaking a lot, and my anxiety is worse, and like my body's shutting down on me, and I'm, you know, I find out I have frontal lobe seizures. I'm having seizures. I'm like going through it. I'm in and out the hospital. Yeah. And it's like I was not doing well. But on an outsider's point of view, yeah, we post. Like I said, everything on social media is fake. I'm posting pictures of me smiling, happy, and I'm going through the worst time of my life. And I'm getting comments like, you look so good. Keep it up. Keep doing what you're doing. I'm throwing up in the bathroom. Literally, you know I mean? Like, just threw up. Like, so it's like, it's hard because now we're seeing all this stuff, and now we feel worthy because we're skinny. And that to me it's crazy. And like now I think back and like, yeah, like I'll sometimes get upset over my body or how I look, but I think back to the time, the worst point of my life, so and bad. I'm like, I'm not going back there. I'm not doing that again, you know?
Yeah.
And so then trying to, you know, have this body positivity going on with me. Hard. It's hard. But that grew a bad relationship with, you know, your body. That really gives you a bad outlook on how you view yourself, because now you're gaining really weight, and because you're healthy, because we've gotten our mindset a little bit better, and now we feel unworthy.
But you also have to, like, keep your mindset strong. Like,
you have to
like,
keep
the
your mindset
smallest
strong.
thing will trigger me, and I that's when I would, like, this happened recently. I got so triggered by my face, because that's where I
I know,
gain
that's where
weight,
I
but
gain
lose
weight
weight the
too. Me
fastest.
too. It fluctuates
And
so bad, my
I
face.
saw in the mirror recently, and I almost went back to my old ways, but my mindset, because I flipped it to a 360, I had to remind myself, like, literally every hour of the day, no, this is how it should be, or, like, not even that, like, this is okay. How you look at, you're okay. Like, everything is okay. You're healthy right now. Everything's okay.
Yeah.
So I had to keep reminding myself, which is very hard for someone who went through an ED. It's very hard. And growing up too, I was never skinny either. I was thick, you know? So it was just, I don't know, it was just very triggering. And the fact that I'm not blaming anyone, because all my friends were going through it too, so I'm not blaming anyone. But the fact that, like, no one noticed hurt more too for me. So nowadays, that's why I reach out to my friends more than I usually do, and it could annoy them, but I do ask them daily or every other day or every week, hey, how are you doing? Or can we talk? Or I need you to talk to me. I need you to spill your feelings for me, because I want them to know I'm there, because no one was there for me.
You're right. And that's what I'm saying about people not noticing, because they think you're dropping this weight for a different reason, and they're commenting on it because like I said, like we just said, social media is fake. So we're posting on our social media that we're happy, that we're doing well, that, you know, we look good, but like we don't feel good inside. And so, and like I said, at the time, we're not reaching out to anybody. Like, I still sometimes can't reach out to people, and that's why I'm in therapy, and that's why I have to see my therapist, because I need to change that mindset. Like, it is okay to reach out. Like, you need to, and you should, because you should get help. Because I had to learn quickly. Actually, it wasn't quickly, it was for a very long time. But after I learned that I can't help myself. I can't take myself out of this hole that I'm sitting in. I can't pull myself up from rock bottom. Like, I need the help.
Yeah.
And whether it wasn't that bad or whatever people say, or
everyone goes through it differently.
Yeah, but I couldn't do it alone. And so therapy was something that I'm forcing myself to try. And at first I hated it, because I couldn't find somebody that matched me, and I couldn't find somebody that I felt like comfortable enough with, until I finally did. And then I was like, yeah, this is it, you know? And that's why my mindset is so strong, but it took a long time. It doesn't flip overnight, it doesn't change overnight. Like, you have to get the help, and like I'm still getting the help, you know, and I'm still trying to break habits that I have that are unhealthy, that are not good in friendships, relationships, of myself, like in my work life, my, you know, just everything. Like, it's not like an overnight thing where like, not depressed anymore. Like,
woke up happy.
Yeah, like no, it's every day is a struggle. Every day I wake up, but every day is a choice. Like, every day you should wake up and be like, okay, I'm going to take today on as this, and I'm going to, if I do find myself going backwards, who can I call? Who can I talk to? Or can I watch a video that's going to help me? Like, I used to go on YouTube and watch like the, you know, if I'm like at work and I'm like really just like panicking or not having a good day, I watch like the breathing exercises, or I would just like, you know, quickly.
Or something that you know that calms you down.
Something that can calm me down, and like whatever, you know.
I know for me, one of my like calming ones right away, even Maya noticed it today, is Christmas music. Like, we literally got in the car.
Christmas music's like her.
It's literally like something that gets me right away. I don't know why. I really don't know why, but immediately I put on Christmas music and it just gives me, like, calms down my anxiety and all that. I don't know. This is a hefty topic to talk about. But
It is. It's hard, and it's all, and like this podcast is kind of all over the place, but like that's what it is. Like, it just is all over the place. So you can't really pinpoint things, you know.
And we want people to relate too. So obviously, not everyone's gonna relate to makeup, and not everyone's gonna relate to fashion, or not everyone's gonna relate to politics, or whatever it is. But we know a lot of people who can relate to mental health, because everyone, no matter what situation they go through, everyone is going through it. No matter how big, small, there's no comparison. Everyone is going through it. And one small little thing that we just said now could make a big difference for someone, and that's the goal we're trying to accomplish.
My therapist, I just thought about this. My first therapist that I saw when I was like 19 or so. Obviously, she just like wasn't the right match for me. She's not my therapist now, but she did say one thing. I was talking to her about my body and how I didn't like how I looked and whatever. I just like had really bad days based on what my body was. And she's like, "Okay, so what do you think you are? Like, what is a word associated with you?" And I said fat, right? And she goes, okay. She goes, I want you to sit there. And she goes, I want you to say the word like milk. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like saying the word milk. And she's like, I want you to tell me words that you associate with milk, right? So I'm like, white, milk's
Cow.
white, cow. I'm like, cereal, like just like saying all this stuff that like I associate with. And then we're just like going back and forth. She's asking me about words and like what I associate with them with, whatever it's color, whatever. And I'm like, so then I'm telling her, I'm like, what is the point of this exercise? And she goes, well, these are just all words, right? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, and they're just like things you associate them with, but that's not their definition. Like that's not their like, they don't hold that to them, right?
No
And I'm like,
way.
okay. And then she's like, so you said the word fat you associate yourself, but like
That's nice.
fat's just a word. That's just another word like milk, like dog, like cat, like whatever. She's like, it's not necessarily, it's not you. It's just a word that's
Dang.
floating in the air right now, And so like
And one word does
it
not
doesn't,
define you.
yeah, a word doesn't define you, and that's not like and so like for a while I was like when I was going through that I'm like it's stupid. Like I'm just like standing there. I'm
You're like, I'm
why am I
fat.
talking about milk? And then I'm like, but she is true.
That
Like
is
these are
true.
just words that are just like thrown out there, and she's like just don't like it was she explained it obviously so much better, but like it is true when you really break it down. It's just another word, and it's
It
not.
doesn't define you, it defines
Yeah.
how you're feeling.
Yeah, and it's just not who you are.
Yeah. It's just what you think you're feeling. I don't
Yeah.
know.
And so it's
I get it though.
yeah,
I
you
get
get what
it.
I'm
Yeah,
saying.
I
It's
get
hard to
it.
explain because like the way she explained it, and this was like years ago, like I said, I was 18, 19. And so I don't remember the conversation clearly, but I remember doing the exercise and then like after just like the word fat to me just like wasn't any more
Wasn't.
associated
Yeah.
with how I felt. Like it was just like I don't know, she just like switched how I thought about things.
That's good.
And I hope that like this probably
That's
doesn't even
good.
make sense, but like cuz I'm not explaining it right at all, but I don't know, that kind of like helped me when I was like talking about my body. Like it was just like a weird exercise, but it got you thinking a little bit deeper. I wish I remember like the whole
Oh, I
conversation
like
cuz it
that
was
though.
like
Cause I
it
never
was
view it
very
as
like eye-opening.
I
Like I was
never
like,
view it
"Oh,
as that. Cause I think I'm ugly. No, I'm kidding. I'm a bad bitch.
my bad bitch." It
It
does
does
take a
take a
long time, and
while.
I think too, like and I will forever say this, but I think journaling really does help, and I think writing down your feelings helps, and reading self-care books also help, and just making a plan for what you want to do, and just writing it down and getting it out there. And I'm a big book person, and I think like reading books about life and self-love and self-help and like whatever, like it really does help. It just gives you a different mindset because we're only thinking one way because that's the only way that we've been comfortable enough to
Mhm.
think, or we've been just thinking for so long that you can't really think of anything else.
Mhm.
So then you read something else, or you talk to somebody, or you read quotes. I'm a big quote girl, or you do whatever, and then your brain starts changing.
Yeah,
You
for me.
start getting a different habit.
Yeah, for me, I listen to podcasts. Like I listen to other people's podcasts too, just about mental
Yeah.
health too. So something like I can relate to, or you know, and it's whatever works best for you, honestly. And I'm kind of glad we touched on this topic though, because I
Yeah.
don't see it. I always feel like I say this. I don't see it too often
Yeah.
because again, it is a hefty topic and everyone goes through it differently, so they may think, "Oh, yeah, that's not depression," or "Oh, yeah, that's not anxiety." But realistically,
It is.
whatever you're feeling, it is it.
Yeah.
Because if you don't feel like yourself, if you don't feel in a great mental space, heavy chested,
Yeah.
you're nervous or whatever it is, it could be that. And you don't have to diminish yourself or have others diminish you and think it's not that.
Right. Yeah. I think too, like a lot with your body image, I know it can be changed. And like this is a topic too, like people are like, well, just go to the gym, just change it. Or just
Please.
eat healthy or just do this or do that. But
It's not just that.
yeah, it's not just that. Like we're talking about, like it's your mindset. Like if you are really depressed, like you can't get up and go to the gym.
I'm not trying to say I'm trying to get a fatter ass. No, I'm saying I am a fat ass. Like, there's a difference. There's a difference.
I do agree, though. Like, yeah, I do agree. Going to the gym does help. Like, it helps you physically and mentally. Like, you get in a better headspace when you go to the gym. And I feel that too. I feel happier when I go to the gym. I feel when I'm consistent with it. Now, it does happen where I feel too busy. I feel too tired. Work is, burning me out. I'm doing too much. I can't get to the gym. Everybody goes through that stuff. Everybody goes through not having motivation for it. But it's not really motivation. I think it's more about discipline. Like, you just have to discipline yourself. And I'm not telling you to go to the gym. You can do whatever you want. But it does help. And I won't knock people for obviously going to the gym and doing better for themselves, because you can make a lot of change and you can feel better with yourself. But at the end of the day, the gym's not the answer. And I don't want that pressure on people of who deal with body image or deal with depression or anxiety, and everyone else just like, go to the gym, do it yourself. Like, stop sitting here complaining about how you look and fix it, because it's not that easy. It's not that easy when you have mental health. You can't get up. Sometimes people can't even shower. Like, there's times like I don't even want to get in the shower. Like, I don't want to get out of my bed and I don't want to do these things. How do you expect me to be consistent at the gym every day?
Can I give my hot take about the gym? I used to be a gym rat, a big one, and I would go every single day, twice a day, whatever it was.
And she would try to get me to go a lot, and I was like, oh,
yeah, and your sister too. I would even try to meet you guys up. This happened last year. I've been going to the gym every day, and I loved it. And I think because my mental health was still bad at the time, I overdid it with the gym, and I would count every single calorie I ate.
And then
count
you create a bad relationship.
I would count every protein intake I would do, and I was so harsh on myself to the point where I hated myself and I hated the gym. And now I will say this proudly. I will not proudly. I will say this very opinionated. I will never go back to the gym again, because now it's a trigger for me. And if I go back, my ED is gonna happen again. My depressive episodes are gonna happen again. So the gym might not work for everybody. Like it is a help, but also it really depends where your mental mindset
help,
is.
Yeah, and that's what I was getting at. Like, sorry, I shook the camera. But that's what I was getting at. Like, it is where your mindset's at, and sometimes people just can't get up and go to the gym because
and you can't be
they
too
can
harsh on
create
yourself.
a bad habit. I think though with your situation, you have to overcome that someday. You have to work on it.
I really don't care for going back to the gym though. Like, if my exercise is me walking around the block, and I'm okay with that. Yeah. I do get my daily exercise, and I do take walks around my neighborhood now too. Yeah. Where I'll go over to my boyfriend's and take walks around his house. But I'm mentally, at least not right now, I'm not mentally there enough to go, because I know it's going to trigger something, and I'm not trying to go back to where I was last year. Yeah. 'Cause it was really bad. It was actually really bad. And
yeah, that's something I think I'm just working on with my therapist, is like facing things that trigger me. And that takes a lot to get there. You have to actually heal and go through a lot of stuff that you're going through and really put in the work. And then eventually you want to face your triggers, because if you don't, they just keep triggering you and you keep staying away and you keep having this fear that you're going to roll into a deep depression.
I'm down for a Pilates class. I do hot yoga in like the summertime and stuff. I'm down for classes like that. It's just I think it's the weight room. Because
girl, you won't see me in the weight room.
No, it's the weight room, because I wasn't really big on like cardio. It's the weight room because I held myself too much to a standard. And it's like, if I don't lift this PR by the end of this week, I'm failing myself. I don't know what it was that triggered me. I think it was because I just hated myself at the time. It was just my mental health. So you could catch me in Pilates. Like, we could go to yoga. Let's go jogging outside. I don't care. It's just I don't know, something about that.
The atmosphere of
it's
the
the
gym
atmosphere.
Is really
I don't know what it is, but it definitely does help though, because that before last year when I went to the gym every day, it honestly helped my mental health a lot, and I was so much happier. It's just something over there last year triggered me.
But again, it doesn't have to be the gym. No. I just think though, getting out and really
just having some
putting your body through
exercise, walking,
just like pushing your body a little bit, kind of like pushes your mind too. At the end of the day, I think this is why we're here, and this is why weekly we continue to get together and we push ourselves to do this podcast, whether we have 10 people watching, whether we have a million people watching, whether we have 2, whatever it is. We push ourselves to come here, sit down, talk about a topic, and really get it out there because it does help us. And this is what's helping our mental health and our depression, and it's pushing us in a right direction. And we also feel like we can help the one person that watches or the 100 people that watch.
Comments. Like we get comments from people here and there, like talking about our podcast, and it helps. And it honestly like makes me want to cry because like really like we're helping you. I don't know. Like I cry right now.
You just get emotional, but like we sit here, we put the effort in to do it because it means something to us and we want it to mean something to everybody else. And like I said, people will agree to disagree on the things that we say and the things we talk about, and that's cool. We want to push ourselves to see the beauty in life because we have been through hard times and we have been depressed and we have felt very alone and we have felt shit about ourselves and we've hated ourselves before. And so we sit here daily, every week, every Wednesday night, we put this on for you. We push
ourselves to it too. And there's times where we're like, oh my God.
And we push it out. And every Saturday, you guys get a podcast from us, you know.
Most Saturdays.
Sorry about last week, guys. Came on Sunday.
Sorry about that one. Yeah. Called this episode a wrap.
Yeah. So we love sitting here and we love chit-chatting with you. And again, please reach out if you need to or if you need help or whatever the case is. Obviously, we're here for you, or we can find you some help.
Threw up with a Diet Coke. She's out here. We're here to help you and reach you out. I'm like, sorry. Continue.
But please reach out if you need anything. We can even help you find somebody or find a therapist, and I can recommend, or I can even help you look it up because we want to be here for you and we want to help you.
Yes.
So we're going to wrap this week's episode up. Thank you for watching.
And thank you for listening and being here.
In case you forgot, I'm Maya.
And I'm Maya.
And this is P.S. Love Yourself.
Bye.
Bye, bitch. Bye, bitch. Bye, bitch.